Welcome back, family, to another episode of Social Walking in Wisdom. And this very well might be the newest platform for Nollywood aficionados. Hello there. I am Coach Cheryl, and as a leadership coach and a huge Nollywood fan, I've joined the millions of viewers that view Nollywood movies, and we say kudos, keep it coming. However, I've taken it to the next level. Not only do I watch Nollywood movies, I started doing my own character analysis of the portrayals and setting it to clients, friends, etc. And as a gift to the Nollywood community and to the Nollywood fans, I wanted to bring this as a gift to you as well. So if you're a man or woman of faith and now that you know better, you desire to do better, you desire to adorn Galatians 5:21-22, fruit of the Spirit, and emulate your Savior, right? Walk in meekness and goodness. And if you decide that for yourself, I say as a coach, yes, you can, right? But we have to be hearers and doers of the word. That means you have to do work. Faith without works is dead, so you must do the work. So on Bliss platform, I combine coaching techniques with the Nollywood movie. I interpret the character, and again, this is just my analysis of the character, not knowing the beginning or the end. So this is just fundamental analysis of the character that's being portrayed. And when, of course, I'm coaching clients for real, we get into more details, including the history and the upbringing and their childhood, and then get into the who, what, when, why, how. Um, on this platform, we're just getting to scratch the surface. But in sharing with you the wealth of information that emanate from the screen, I think it would be helpful if you decide to build a level of self-awareness through self-reflection. You can indeed, and I said, yes, you can indeed look at a man and a woman in the mirror, ask the tough questions that the characters are asking, or some of the questions I may suggest to you. And if you can relate to a character or characters in a positive or negative way, if it's a positive way, and it's making you a better person and you're contributing to the diaspora based on how you interact at home and at work and at school, then way to go. But if you know you can do better, and we all can, we all have character flaws. No one is perfect. So this is not judgment or condemnation. It's about if you enjoy the movies and you can relate to the character, and there's one or two things you can do to improve, well, we will provide you with some of the golden nuggets. You can begin to do the work, you can do further research, and of course, if more in-depth information is needed from a professional, we certainly recommend you do so within that country, since we're talking about throughout the diaspora. Having said that, again, welcome to Social Walking in Wisdom. This platform was indeed inspired by Sonia Uche herself. I call her Wow, Woman of Wisdom. She has built, certainly created a digital footprint. And for what I've seen so far, and I don't know personally, but what I've seen so far based on a digital footprint, she is certainly operating in wisdom. And I could only pray that her personal life aligns with what's visible on the social media. One of the things I advise my clients is that once you log on any platform, you start creating a digital footprint. And it's so important that we remain in congruence. We have to be aligned with our true identity based on who we are and in comparison to who we're presenting ourselves to be, our our image, our brand image. So it's important that we align our identity with our brand image. And having said that, based on how many very powerful reminders, happy Sundays, and wonderful scriptures and quotes, very powerful quotes, I thought using this platform to continue to enhance what she has already started, would be my gift, totally free of charge. My gift to you. So, welcome to another platform. To today, we have posted 18 videos, and we encourage you, if you like doing the analysis or if you enjoy figuring it out, or join me on this journey. If you look at a movie, write your own analysis and then listen out to my analysis, compare the notes, and give your commentary. Of course, I read your comments. And if by chance you have a particular movie you would like me to comment on, do a character analysis, please also leave it in the comment section. There are many things that I do, but I would love to respond to a viewer if they're really engrossed in a particular movie and they would like to analyze the characters that are being portrayed. And again, these are just characters, so clearly these are not real people. They're being portrayed by these talented actors and actresses, produced by the wonderful cadre of producers and executive producers of Nollywood and the entire Nollywood team. So today, before we get into today's movie, I want to give a head nod, of course, to Queen Soso herself. She's at 950,000 subscribers. So we have 50,000 subscribers more to go to make that 1 million mark. She can certainly do it before the end of the year. So please continue to subscribe, share, push out, fan out, and continue looking at her wonderful movies. Because this platform was inspired by Sonia Uche herself, be advised, most of the movies are based on Sonia Uche television or other movies, Uche Nancy or Uchenna Mobano, that she herself starred in. And there are many others I have done analysis on. I just have not produced it because I did not bring it on YouTube at that point in time. If time permits, and by God's will, by Yah's will, I should be able to do so. But to date, we have had character analysis for Heart Place. My House Help has been the latest from her platform, and it's doing very well at 4.5 million views. Two Hearts in a Ring. Um, I'm not sure. I have to double check, but that's 1.6 million views, and I do believe it can use more views. We've done it for Half of Me, Chances. I haven't done it for a Ranger, so please continue to support her. And one of the things I would recommend as well is if you view my character analysis of her movies and you're not sure what my character analysis, go back and look at the movie and compare. And then, write your notes and let's have a dialogue, of course. In addition to Sonia Uche Television, I've done a character analysis for Uche Nancy Update and Uche Nancy Television, Uche Mbabano's, Ruth Kederi, and the latest indeed is Omoni Oboli that premiered today. So we're in the process of bringing together another movie, and indeed, the movie is Promise Affection. Promise Affection, a wonderful movie produced, a written storyline by Uche Nancy herself, and is sponsored by Uche Nancy Update Television. And I believe by the end of the weekend, it should easily be 1 million viewers because it was an excellent movie. Again, this platform is not neat about just about telling you about a movie, giving a movie review, but I would be remiss if I don't say that this was an excellent movie. Out of 10, I would give it a 50. And I definitely want to take 2 minutes just to give a shout out to this wonderful young lady, Generation X, my sister Generation X, Uche Nancy. And not only the storyline was beautifully written, I cried my eyes out. The last time I cried my eyes out was for Sonia Uche, I think it was Chances. So I cried my eyes out like a 2-year-old in this particular movie because it was beautifully executed. And what this wonderful young lady did with her talents is really streamline two storylines between two generations. So you have Generation Z or Millennial, depending on the age, played by Chine Nibebe, her real-life daughter, and the handsome Michael Dapper. And indeed, he's dapper. Very handsome young man. So I'll stop there. And we have the beautiful Ola Daniels and Blessing Onwuke, two veterans. And boy, did they make me cry. And this movie reminded me because I too had a bestie, and there was a time and space where there was no conversation. And as a woman of faith, I too, like one of the characters, prayed every day, day in and day out, that our paths will converge. And this movie was very well done. And so it's about two generations, two storylines taking place simultaneously. At the same time, it was given us a historical perspective of two besties, again, played by Ola Daniels and Blessing on Wiki, two veteran actresses. And boy, did they deliver. Again, I promise you this is not a movie review, but I cannot help it. So let's give the flowers to these beautiful young ladies, Generation X, including Uchi Nancy. Please, please, please take your flowers and let's give them a salute because they have certainly earned it. Now that I've said that piece, let's get into this movie where it follows two young Generation Z millennials, and unbeknownst to them, they are the children of two besties who lost touch more than 25 plus years, might have been 28 years. And the two young children, or I would say the two young adults, they met there, and the very first encounter was not the best encounter. There was an incident, and their anger and emotions went flaring left to right. I'm not going to give away the movie. You have to look at it to see why these two young adults would be so angry with each other. So let's look at a character out of play by Chirinebe. Beautiful haircut. She is really a really good actress. The head movements, the anger. I believed you, Chirinebe. Really, you've come into your own. And kudos again to Mama Uche, and kudos for you to really honing your talent. Wonderful acting done by both. Um, Michael Dapper and Chirinebe, their chemistry online, I love it. I know many individuals love her connection with Clinton Joshua. But, I think Michael Dapper can give Clinton Joshua a run for his money online, right? So, never, regardless, Ada in this case is a young woman nursing school and very pragmatic and emotionally expressive. With this encounter, it left her irate, and it just so happens that this was the same person who would have become her employer. And because of her emotions running high, she almost lost her job um, the moment she came in, because the young man, played by Michael Dapper, none so realized that it was the same crazy woman he met. So, nevertheless, she was able to maintain her professionalism and contain her shock after realizing that, okay, this young man is going to be my employer, because she was employed to take care of his sick mom. And Nunso is a privileged young man whose immediate desire to fire Ada when he saw her, or Ada, upon their second meeting reveals a sense of entitlement and really had a lack of patience. So what was very raw between them, really, really raw, was the anger, the emotions. And as a coach, I cannot help to think that there were some underlying challenges where in which the story did not give us privy to. However, we know that these two young adults, they were fatherless, maybe at a very young age, because both besties, unbeknownst to them, lost their husbands, and so they're both widows. And it is hard in this generation to be a single mom, um, and especially when it's not by choice. You get married, and you think it's a wonderful thing, and you have kids, and you look forward to that journey for years to come, and then it was cut short. And the actual situation in terms of that led to their their status as widowers, you will need to watch the movie to find out. But there very well could be the reason why they're both irate, and maybe they were anger. The real anger was at the father's leaving them too early. Now, this again, the storyline did not provide that information. I'm just leading a little bit into it, understanding that young adults who are supposed to be happy shouldn't have those raw, angry emotions. Okay. And if we consider the Generation X led by Ola Daniels' character and Blessing Unwuki's calendar, they were more empathetic and mindful and thoughtful, better communication. And when their both adult children were conveying the challenges that they had with this stranger, they were both soothing their children to calm down, bring it down a notch. All of this anger is not needed. So that's just me from a leadership coach component, understanding that that raw anger has to stem from somewhere. Okay. Now we're looking at the beautiful mothers, Generation X. Two mothers represent the enduring values of Generation X, which is loyalty, long-term commitment, and a belief in faith and tradition. And it's really all about, I would say, um, sisterhood. There's strength in sisterhood indeed. And I would also say um, one of the things that one of the things that was very clear in the movie was the power of prayer and the faith that Ola Daniels' character had in that one day. She knows that that friend would never abandon her. So she knew for sure it was not a frenemy, it was a friend. It was a sister friend. It was a sister. And one day, even though it was 20 years later, more than 2 decades, a quarter of a century, she knew one day she would meet her again because she had faith in the God that she served. And indeed, the Elohim that she served indeed was her strength indeed. So faith works, family. And what this movie shows is the different generations between um, mother and child. And then you had different generations between the baby boomers and Generation X, and then you have Generation Z, right? So intergenerational is important that we start thinking about it when we work together and when we live together, whether it's extended families. Different generations went through different things, and it's important to understand where that connection is coming from. Um, the beauty about this movie is that when the friends finally saw each other, they held on to the same, they realized that they had the same pictures and prayed for a reunion. And really, it showcased a patient and hopeful nature that contrasts with the quick to react impulsivity of their Generation Z or millennial children. Their communication style was also less direct and more rooted in emotional memory and shared history. So they're indeed the architects of the resolution that they were trying to find in this movie. And one of the things that is very true in this movie is what we've seen visible between two individuals, two hot-tempered individuals. And one of the things both moms stated is that they're really both nice kids, but together it's like, oof, combustion. So James 1 1920, because it is still a faith-based ministry, it says, know this, my dear brothers, everyone should be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, for the wrath of a man does not accomplish the righteousness of Elohim. Did you hear that, family? Know this, my brothers, everyone should be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, for the wrath of a man does not accomplish the righteousness of God himself. And I will say absolutely. And as I get quickly back into the movie here, I just lost it for a second. My apologies. Promise affection. Understand that The moms played the architect of resolution. They wanted to figure out a way how to get them to see each other the way the moms saw them. It was really beautiful kids. They were raised well. I'm not going to give you the inside of the story. You really, really, really need to see this movie. And when you see this movie, you're going to know why I said you really, really, really want to see this movie. Very well done. So the mothers played a key role in the resolution, using their generational wisdom and a touch of subtle, you could call it for what it is, manipulation, to bring their children maybe together, at least to start to have a conversation that is not fueled by anger and animosity. So their actions concocting a scenario to force their kids to interact show a belief that true love and connection are worth guiding, a stark contrast from what Generation Z or the millennials were doing, an approach of self-discovery and certainly independent choice. No one wanted to back down. And what was clear from the beginning of this movie, when the two Generation Z or millennials had that encounter and there was an incident, but there was ego, there was pride, and there was, of course, anger, disrespect, and the list goes on and on. You could say it's a laundry list of words that can be used to describe that particular incident, but soft words, kind words, gentle words, empathetic tone would have been the trick, would have been the way to calm down the flames or to oust the fire, so to speak. So the mother's ability to forgive a 25-year separation and your shared goal of seeing their children marry underscore a deep-seated belief in the sanctity of family and the importance of fulfilling long-held promises. So there are a few key takeaways and we just going to get right into it. You have to look at communication and the power of the spoken word and the soft tone, kind words. And sometimes it's better to be, not sometimes, it is always better to be kind and right. It's about addressing the solution. You don't necessarily have to address the solution in real time. You could always come back to addressing that problem. But the goal is to ensure that that small tinder fire does not create an entire firework of combustion. So it's very important to know that we be wise as a serpent and indeed gentle as a dove, right? Again, if there's something that's a small fire that's kindling, use words, kind words to oust the fire the way you would use a fire extinguisher or water. Then the other key takeaway is indeed love. The mother's understanding of love, trust, that friendship that they had, they knew that there has to be an answer. They knew 100% there had to be a rational reason for not being in touch. They couldn't figure it out. And when Blessing's character related the story to Ola Daniels' character, you would have never believed what happened. So you have to look at the movie. But they knew it wasn't because of anything else other than something happened, right? And that was the beauty of their relationship. It was really um, grounded in love, friendship, and sisterhood. And the other key takeaway is the power of forgiveness. The mother's reunion is a powerful display of instant forgiveness, regardless of what might have been toiling in their minds before that. And even getting their kids, because they led by example, their kids were able to follow their lead. And I've always stated in Generation Z or millennials, they would tell their parents or the adult in the room, don't tell us, show us, right? And maybe we will follow, right? That's a big maybe. But we have to learn to set the tone and lead by example. And then the other key takeaway indeed is listening. the older generation's ability to listen and empathize, even when their kids were shouting from the rooftop in anger that they really hated this person, they listen and empathize. And really, they thought the kids, they were so angry that they would have made themselves sick because of that anger. It's important to know that when you're experiencing such anger, that becomes a burden, and that burden can weigh down. If you consider an event planner, if they're planning a beautiful birthday party or wedding, many individuals still use balloons. And the hot air in the balloon allowed the balloon to elevate. But if you were to put a weight at the end of that balloon, the weight, the burden that's in that box will bring the balloon down. That's what problems do. That's what unchecked emotions do. So it's important that we deal with our emotions. Otherwise, it will certainly wear us down. And that's where Generation X differ from Generation Z. And part of that is also life experience, right? Maturity with time comes experience, understanding, knowing the difference between right and wrong, and understanding that with time, um, with time, problems can be resolved. With time, um, forgiveness can lead to a level of healing. With time, indeed, that burden can be cut and can be released so that balloon can indeed fly. Anything is possible with time. And at the end of the day, I think the mother's orchestrated plan is essentially a lesson in, again, listening and empathizing. I think the children were grandstanding because their adult parents were in the room. When left alone to deal with their own emotions one on one, they realized it was really maybe all about nothing. But you're going to have to look at the full movie to find out what happened, how it happened, and whether indeed it led to love or not, based on their promised affection, what both mothers promised years ago. So that concludes another episode of Social Walking in Wisdom. And in this movie, I had the distinct pleasure to talk about two generations, Generation X, Generation Z, and how the two generations within their own right really served this movie up well. And again, I have to give a big shout out to Uche Nancy for her storyline, for producing. It was a wonderful movie. And again, second to, I think, Chances. This is the second movie that left me in a pool of tears, just needing a box of Kleenex. So, family, thank you so much for sharing and spending some time with us today. If by chance you have not watched this movie, please be sure to go ahead and do so. That's Promise Affection. Let's bring this to 1 million viewership strong. And so many others that's on Uche Nancy Television. Please be sure to look at the phenomenal cadre of actors that are bringing her um, her her vision to light. We also had a wonderful um, character analysis on all we have. So please be sure to go through. And if by chance you haven't subscribed to Sonia Uji Television, please be sure to do so. Let's push it to 1 million subscriber. And I'll also ask you if you have not subscribed to my platform, Social Walking in Wisdom, where we literally, we do character analysis. And again, this is just the top of the iceberg, so to speak. Without much information, is only so far we can go, but it's a great exercise in understanding who you are through self-reflection and building self-awareness. Family, thank you so much for listening once again. And as always, shalom.